How far would you go to escape poverty? Would you steal what no one must ever steal, even if unseen hands were waiting for you? Welcome to Royal Beat Tales. If you are just seeing us for the first time, please subscribe, like, and comment for more unique stories. Titus was a young student at Delta State University in Nigeria. He loved parties and fun, but he had no money. Every day he watched rich boys on campus, known as Yahoo boys, who spent money on girls at clubs and even in the hostel. These boys drove fancy cars and always had pretty girls by their side. Titus sat alone and wondered, why am I so poor? Look at my mates enjoying life. He felt left out and sad as he struggled just to eat 2 meals a day. Titus loved girls, but whenever he asked a girl out, she turned him down because he was broke. He had no one to call his own, and it made his heart ache. Life felt unfair, and each night he lay in bed, his stomach empty and his mind full of envy. He didn't know it yet, but in his desperation, Titus was ready to do anything to change his fate. Titus's roommate, Eriga, was one of those rich boys. Eriga always had cash, wore expensive clothes, and even owned a Mercedes-Benz. Each weekend, Eriga would bring beautiful girls to their room, and Titus would pretend not to care. But inside, Titus was burning with jealousy and desire. He wished he could be like Eriga, just for one day to enjoy the good life. The more Titus watched Eriga flaunt money, the more bitter he became. Why was his case different? Why did luck shine on Eriga and not on him? These questions kept Titus awake at night. He felt a dark cloud of frustration growing inside him, and he was about to reach a breaking point. One cold evening, Titus couldn't hold it in anymore. He fell on his knees in front of Eriga right there in their small hostel room. Tears gathered in Titus's eyes as he said, "Eriga, I beg, please show me the way. I want to be like you. I want money, at least enough to enjoy this Christmas. Please help me." Eriga looked at his friend on the floor with a serious face. "I am not a miracle worker, Titus. Nothing good comes easy," he said softly. Then Eriga helped Titus stand up and added, "But I can show you a way. Just know that your destiny will still be in your own hands." Titus wiped his tears and managed to smile, feeling a spark of hope. His heart pounded with excitement as Eriga scribbled a phone number on a piece of paper. "Call this Baba," Eriga whispered, glancing around as if someone might hear. "He is the surest plug in town for making money fast." Titus took the paper with shaking hands, not knowing that this phone number was the start of his journey into darkness. The next day, Titus followed the address to find the Baba's shrine deep in the forest at the edge of town. The sun was setting as he walked down a narrow path, and the trees around him grew thick and tall, blocking out the light. Titus's heart beat faster with every step. The forest was silent except for the distant cry of an owl. Finally, he saw an old hut with strange markings on the walls and bottles hanging from a tree. A strong smell of herbs and something foul filled the air. Titus felt a chill run down his spine. He wanted to turn back, but the thought of living poor forever scared him more. He mustered his courage and stepped inside the dimly lit hut, lit by a single red candle. Inside, he saw the Baba, an old man with a long gray beard and sharp eyes that seemed to shine in the dark. The Baba sat on a mat surrounded by carved idols and skulls of animals. He was waiting, as if he knew Titus was coming. Titus swallowed hard, trembling, as the Baba turned to look at him. "My son, you want to make money?" the Baba asked in a low, hoarse voice. Titus quickly knelt down and replied, "Yes, sir." "Yes, Baba, I do." His voice shook with fear and hope. The Baba began to chant strange words and threw some powder into the air. A cloud of smoke rose, and Titus coughed, his eyes watering. The room felt colder. The Baba's eyes rolled back as he continued to speak in an unknown tongue. Then he suddenly stopped and stared straight at Titus. In Nigerian pidgin English, the Baba said, "My son, you no go fit press. Your head no get oil." Titus was confused and scared. He understood the pidgin. The Baba meant Titus couldn't make money the normal way, like the Yahoo boys. His head had no luck for that path. The old man squinted at him and hissed, "Them don't even use you." Titus's heart skipped a beat. He knew that phrase. It meant someone might have already taken his destiny or luck. Was he cursed from the start? Titus opened his mouth to ask, but the Baba raised a hand to silence him. The hut was so quiet that Titus could hear his own heartbeat echoing in his ears. He felt that something very serious was happening, and his life was about to change in a terrifying way. The Baba closed his eyes and nodded slowly, as if listening to a voice nobody else could hear. Then he spoke clearly. "There is one last thing you fit do, one thing way go make you rich." Titus leaned in, eager and afraid at the same time. The Baba lowered his voice and continued, "You go collect used pant, a woman's underwear, from girls. Collect the pants, cook them, and drink the water from the pot. The more pants you collect and boil, the richer you go become. Each time you drink that water, any person way you call or text go send you money, and your account go full." Titus's stomach turned at these words. Steal girls' underwear, boil them in a pot and drink the water. It sounded disgusting and wrong. His hands started shaking. But as the Baba talked about money, Titus imagined piles of cash and a new car, and beautiful girls finally saying yes to him. His fear began to melt into greedy excitement. The Baba wasn't done. He leaned forward and warned, "But remember, you must collect a new pant every single day. If one day pass and you no bring pant, there will be consequences. Spirits go, come collect their payment." Titus nodded quickly, saying, "I understand, Baba. I will do it." In that moment, Titus agreed to pay a price he did not fully understand. As he left the shrine that night, clutching a small charm the Baba gave him, the trees seemed to whisper around him. Titus felt the darkness in the forest follow behind him, but he tried to ignore the fear creeping into his heart. Back at campus, Titus began his new secret life. Late that night, when everyone else was asleep, he snuck out of his hostel room. He crept through the shadows towards the female hostel. His heart was pounding like a drum in his chest. Titus felt like a thief in the night, and he was. He made sure no one was watching as he slipped into the dim hallway of the girls' dormitory. Most doors were locked and lights were off. Carefully, Titus pushed one door that was left ajar. He held his breath and listened. Inside, a girl was snoring softly, fast asleep. Titus's hands shook as he spotted some clothes on a chair. On top of the pile was a pink cotton panty. His mouth went dry. He tiptoed into the room, praying the girl wouldn't wake up. With trembling fingers, he picked up the underwear. It felt very personal and wrong to steal it, but he reminded himself why he was doing this. As quietly as he came, he slipped back out with the panty clenched in his fist. Once outside, he ran to a small empty corner behind the dormitory where he had hidden a pot. Under the moonlight, Titus boiled water using a portable stove and dropped the stolen panty inside. The fabric bobbed in the bubbling water, releasing a strange smell that made Titus gag. He filled a small plastic bottle with the hot water that now carried the essence of the panty. His hand shook as he took a sip. The water tasted awful, like burnt cloth, but he forced it down, remembering it was the taste of sacrifice for riches. He didn't know what to expect, but as he finished drinking, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Titus took it out and saw an alert. Someone had just sent money into his bank account, out of the blue. His eyes widened in shock and delight. The Baba's words were coming true. Titus had taken the first step into a world of easy money and dark magic, and there was no turning back now. Over the next week, Titus became bolder and more skilled at stealing pants. Each night he sneaked into the female hostel or nearby houses where girls lived. He learned to move silently like a shadow. Sometimes he found underwear drying on lines behind the hostel and grabbed them quickly. Other times he actually slipped into bathrooms or rooms through unlocked windows to snatch an item. Every single night he managed to find at least one girl's panty. Each time he would boil it in his secret pot and drink the foul pant-infused water. And every single day Titus's bank account grew fatter. Money poured in as if by magic, because it was magic. Titus went from having nothing to having more cash than he ever dreamed of. After just 1 week, he could afford anything he wanted. He bought new clothes and a shiny smartphone. He started eating the best food and paid all his school fees and debts. His sudden wealth shocked everyone on campus. How did quiet, broke Titus suddenly become rich? Titus just smiled and kept his dark secret to himself. At night, he would drive out in a car he rented, partying at clubs and throwing money around like it was paper. For once, Titus had girls around him. He would check into hotels with 2 beautiful girls on his arm, making up for all the lonely nights he had endured. On the surface, Titus's life looked perfect and flashy, but deep down, a tiny voice of worry began to grow. He knew this wasn't free money. He was doing something very dangerous. Every day he had to steal another panty. Each morning he woke up rich but also afraid. He tried to drown that fear in loud music and alcohol, but it was always there, following him like a shadow. And every night, before the clock struck midnight, Titus forced himself out to hunt for another pant because he remembered the Baba's warning, and he dared not skip even one night. One night, after a big party, Titus stumbled into a luxury hotel suite with 2 girls clinging to him, laughing. It was almost dawn, and he was very tired and a little drunk. The girls soon fell asleep on the big soft bed beside him. Titus's eyes felt heavy. In his haze, he forgot that he hadn't stolen any panty that day. He had been too busy dancing and drinking. As the night grew silent and the air in the room became still, Titus drifted into sleep without completing his daily ritual. In the middle of the night, a sudden bang echoed in the room. Titus felt a hot, stinging slap on his forehead that woke him up immediately. He screamed in pain and surprise, sitting up and holding his head. The 2 girls woke with a start, frightened by his scream. They looked around, but they saw nothing strange. One girl switched on the light. There was nobody else in the room. But Titus knew what had hit him, an unseen hand. He remembered the Baba's warning. He must collect a pant every day. And now he had failed. His heart raced with fear. The invisible force had struck him hard, and he was trembling. The girls were asking him what happened, but Titus couldn't answer. How could he explain that a ghostly hand slapped him because he didn't steal an underwear? He apologized and said it was just a nightmare. The girls eventually went back to sleep, but Titus could not. He sat in the darkness until morning, rubbing the bump on his head and whispering to himself, "I will never forget again. Never." That night, Titus learned that the spirits were watching, and they would not forgive even one mistake. After that terrifying warning, Titus became even more careful to do his dark duty every day. He continued his nightly thefts, but now he was always looking over his shoulder. The campus was buzzing with rumors because many girls were complaining about their missing underwear. In the hostel, the female students gathered to talk about the strange thief who stole only pants and nothing else. Fear and anger grew among them. Some girls started locking their underwear in lockers or hiding them under their pillows. Others would dry their laundry indoors, too scared to leave it outside at night. Titus knew it was only a matter of time before someone caught him. He started to feel the weight of what he was doing. Each night, as he crept through the darkness, his hands would sweat and his heart would race, not just from fear of spirits, but fear of being seen by human eyes. He imagined what would happen if a mob caught him stealing a pant. In many places, thieves like that were beaten or even killed by angry crowds. Still, the desire for wealth pushed Titus forward. His face was on everyone's mind now. People were watching for the mysterious pant thief. He tried changing his routine, sometimes going off campus to nearby houses to find panties to steal. But no matter where he went, he felt like eyes followed him in the dark, unseen but present. Titus hardly slept anymore. When he closed his eyes, he saw angry faces of spirits and heard the whispers of the forest from that night at the shrine. He was living his dream life in daylight, but living a nightmare each night. One evening, as the orange sun set, Titus sneaked into a friend's off-campus lodge where some female students stayed. He thought it would be safer since they didn't suspect an outsider there. He slid into a room through a half-open window, quiet as a cat. Inside the room, a girl's bag was on the floor and clothes were scattered about. Titus's eyes quickly found a small heap of freshly washed clothes in a corner. Peeking out was a purple lady's pant. He thanked his luck and moved fast. But as Titus picked it up and turned to leave, a loud scream tore through the air. "Thief, what are you doing?" Another girl had walked in and switched on the light, catching Titus in the act with the underwear in his hand. Titus froze for a second, his blood turning to ice. The girl who screamed looked at him in shock and recognition. She knew Titus. How could she not? He was that quiet guy who suddenly had money and a Benz. She shouted, "Titus is the pant thief!" Footsteps and more voices started echoing down the hall as other girls came running. Without thinking, Titus bolted out through the door, pushing past the stunned girl. Several girls chased him, yelling in fear and anger. Titus ran faster than he had ever run in his life, fueled by pure panic. His secret was out now. They knew it was him. He sprinted off into the night, escaping the angry shouts. His heart pounded not just from running, but from the terror of what could happen next. That night, Titus disappeared from campus, fleeing before anyone could catch him. But as he ran away into the darkness, he had no idea that the true punishment for his deeds was yet to come. Titus went into hiding, using his money to stay in a fancy hotel far from the university. He thought he would be safe there and that things would calm down. In the hotel, he had a big, comfortable room and all the food and drink he wanted. But Titus could not truly rest. Every night, he still needed to find a panty to steal and boil. It became much harder now that he was away from campus. He tried to find opportunities, perhaps a housekeeper's laundry at the hotel or a clothesline behind someone's house in town. But Titus was also scared. He knew people might have heard of the pant thief by now. What if he got caught in the city? He might not be so lucky to escape again. One day passed, then two. Titus managed to steal a couple of panties from a nearby neighborhood by sneaking out late at night, but he knew he was being reckless. So he decided to stay locked in his hotel room for a while, hoping that maybe the spirits would forgive him if he took a short break. He was tired of running around every night. Perhaps, he thought, his money would last and he could find another solution soon. Each day in the hotel, Titus grew more paranoid. He barely slept, and when he did, he had nightmares of faceless girls and the old Baba laughing in a dark forest. He tried calling Eriga for advice, but his roommate's number didn't connect. Maybe Eriga wanted nothing to do with him now. Titus was truly alone with his fear. He kept all the lights on in his room even at noon, trying to feel safe. But no matter how he tried to hide, the darkness was coming for him. After a week in hiding on a moonless night, Titus sat on the edge of his hotel bed, eyes red from lack of sleep. He thought about boiling one of the old panties he still had left from before, hoping it might appease the spirits. But he remembered the Baba's words, a new pant every day. Reusing an old one wouldn't help. His hands shook as midnight approached. The hotel room was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. Suddenly, the lights in his room flickered, then went out, Titus's breath caught in his throat. The room plunged into darkness. "No, no, not now," he whispered, reaching for his phone to use as a flashlight. Before he could turn it on, he felt a presence. The air around him grew heavy and cold. Out of the darkness, a hard knock landed on his head. Thud! Titus yelped in pain, stumbling to the floor. The invisible hands were back, and this time they were not gentle. Thud! Thud! The blows came from nowhere and everywhere, striking his head, his back, his arms. Titus crawled on the floor, trying to escape the beating, but there was no one to run from, no place to hide. He screamed, a loud cry of fear and agony that echoed down the empty hotel corridor. The spirits were furious that he had broken the deal. They were collecting their due. Titus's screams turned into pleas. "I'm sorry, please, please stop." But the assault did not stop. It went on through the long night, and nobody came to help. Who would believe or even see an invisible force attacking a man? By the time the gray light of dawn crept into the hotel room, Titus lay curled up in a corner, whimpering softly. The once proud, rich young man was now bruised, not only in body but in mind. The room was a wreck, with furniture knocked over and the floor smeared with drops of blood from where his skin had cracked. As the first rays of morning sun touched Titus's swollen face, his eyes were empty and distant. The spirits had finished their work. When the hotel staff finally opened the room in the morning, they gasped in shock. The door was wide open and the guest was gone. Back at the university campus, as students walked to class, a strange figure wandered in through the gates. It was Titus. He was barefoot and almost naked, wearing only the tatters of a hotel bedsheet around his waist. His once neatly kept hair was wild and matted with blood. His eyes darted around, wide and confused, and he kept mumbling words no one could understand. The campus came alive with whispers as people recognized him. This was the same Titus who had become rich so quickly. Now he looked broken and lost. A crowd slowly gathered, watching from a distance and murmuring. Titus started laughing and crying at the same time, swatting at the empty air as if invisible mosquitoes were biting him. "It wasn't me. I'm sorry, please," he cried out to no one, his voice cracking. Everyone realized the terrible truth. Titus had run mad. His mind was gone, taken by the evil he had invited into his life. He had broken his agreement with the dark spirits, and now he was paying the ultimate price. No amount of money could save him from this fate. Some people in the crowd stepped back in fear, remembering the missing panties and the scary stories of the pant thief. They knew now that the curse had caught up with Titus. As the sun climbed higher, Titus wandered aimlessly, a once hopeful young man now reduced to a living warning for others. In his eyes there was a distant, empty look, as if he was trapped in a nightmare he could never escape. His story spread around the campus and beyond, a grim warning about the cost of greed and dark shortcuts. Titus wanted to be rich and enjoy life, but in the end he lost everything, even his own mind. The evil he welcomed had finally come to collect, and now there was nothing left of Titus but an empty shell. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment for more unique stories.